During this episode at Disconnection, we will be speaking to Ryan Sloan, who will share with us real and relatable stories covering a range of topics from his unique perspective. So, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself so they can gauge who you are?
Sure. So I'm a singer-songwriter of an alternative rock group called Wyland. We're based out in New Jersey. And I'm also a filmmaker. And I'm just a traveler through life, just fucking around every day and seeing what happens, you know?
Would you say that you're one of those wanderlust people?
I would say that I want to be. There was a movie with Viggo Mortensen that came out last year. I think it was probably one of my favorite movies of 2016. It was called like Mr. Fantastic, and like the whole time, like, damn man, that's the life I want. Like he like just lives in the wild and like raised his kids like outside of society, and then it shows the transition of them getting back into society and how much trouble they have kind of being a part of it. But the whole time, like, I'm always drawn to those kind of films, and I'm like, I think that's what I want to. I think one day I'm just gonna like give up everything and just go hide in the woods,
live off the grid, like
yeah,
be self-sustained.
Exactly.
But
I'll probably get fucking eaten by a bear or something. So.
You learn to fight them off. You figure it out.
Yeah.
Have you read any like survivor books?
I haven't. No, I'm not. I'm not as big of a reader as I'd like to be. I buy a bunch of books and then I never fucking read them.
What was the most recent book you bought?
I bought The Peregrine. Yeah, it's like a story about this observer who's observing this peregrine, this bird, and then I know the summary, so then I never fucking read it. I like read so deeply into the summary, and then I'm like, I already know what it's about. Fuck it. But it's about this guy who like observes this bird, and he ends up becoming the bird.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then it's like, why do you have to read it then, right?
It's tripping balls, though.
Yeah. Well, it's like I think that it's supposed to be like metaphorical for like artists and kind of just if you want to do something, you have to become it, you know? So I try to like...
Cool.
Yeah, take that away from it.
So what did you feel you had to become to be the lead singer of Wyland?
Interestingly enough, I still don't know. I started playing music when I was about 23. I've always been...
Wow, it's pretty late.
Yeah, pretty late.
Yeah.
I've always been musical. I've always had, like the itch and the desire. I just never did anything about it, like I feel like so many other people. And when I was 23, I was dating a girl who convinced me to go to a Coldplay concert. And I knew Coldplay. I knew like Yellow and Fix You, all the songs that everybody else knew, Clocks. And I went to this concert, and it was literally the most magical experience of my life. It was in, I think it was like 2011. And the whole time, I think I was like, I had a couple of beers in me, and me and my buddy smoked a little weed. And I remember I was just so blown away by the experience. They had these wristbands, and it was the first time that I've seen that. Now everybody's doing it, but they gave you these wristbands, and the guy literally told you, he said, "Don't take these off. If you do, you'll be asked to leave." And I'm like, what the fuck? And we go in there, and at one point, like Chris Martin, the lead singer, tells everybody to raise their hands in the air, and then all of a sudden, everyone's light goes off on their wrist. And it was like the first time that I ever felt like a part of something.
Yeah.
You know, like at a show with thousands of people, but you feel like you're one. And I was like, this is what music is all about, you know? And from there, I dug deep into their catalog. I dug deep into other bands that reminded me of them. And I was like, I think I could do this, you know? And I started kind of conceptualizing Wyland, my band. And I've been kind of just chasing the dream ever since, and, you know, learning from my mistakes and just trying to apply it to the future, you know?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I took a listen to your album. I can definitely tell that you like U2, I want to say.
Yeah, I was raised on U2, so that's something I can't get away from.
You've got that Bono vocals going on in your side. It's cool. You guys got cool production. I was into it. But who else do you find are artists that really helped shape the tone that you came in, and actually now knowing that you came in at 23 years old,
right?
It's like you had a whole lifetime of experience of music before you're able to get into it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because it's like I was raised on like Lynyrd Skynyrd and U2, two like completely opposite groups. And then in high school or before high school, my brother got me into the whole '90s thing between Limp Bizkit and Nirvana and all those types of groups. Foo Fighters. I was into that whole era. Alice in Chains, everything. High school, I got into the whole emo pop punk phase, like everybody else did for the most part. And I basically started kind of, I guess, growing up and just growing out of those things. Like, I still appreciate them. I still listen back and I'm like, damn, that brand new album is so good, But I mean, at the end of the day, to me, it's kind of like the things that I found that I loved in bands like U2 and Coldplay is that they have songs that are timeless and universal. You could have a song like Fix You or a song like Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For can resonate around the world, whereas a song like The Grosser from Brand New isn't really going to touch people in China and Australia, maybe. You know what I mean? Or even like South America.
So has that turned into kind of your goal as a musician to be able to make unifying music?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like the Beatles did that, and they did that so naturally and without really thinking about it. And a big thing about music is, trying not to think too hard and just do it, right? You want it to be authentic. But at the same time, you look back at groups like that and, like the Beatles, in Florida, there was one of the first stadium shows they were going to play. They found out that the crowds were going to be separated by race, and they said, we're not playing unless everyone's together. And it's like, that's music. That's what music does. And and sure as shit, everybody was put together and nobody had a problem, So I think that's the power of music, and that's definitely something that I want to come through in my music, in my songwriting, my art. I want it to be universal because it is, and I don't care about niches and things like that. I just want it to be everyone's.
When you're writing, are you trying to write on like a specific subject that you think would allow everybody to enjoy a universal subject? Or are you kind of just writing from the heart, and whatever comes out, you're hoping that it will be?
Yeah, I think that I think it definitely starts at the heart, and I kind of just I just go with what I want to do first, and then as the months go by and the songs kind of develop more and more, I try to keep a focused eye on the universal aspect of it. I mean, like, obviously, like, heartache, everybody's been through that in some form or fashion, but wearing Louis Vuitton, I've never worn Louis Vuitton. You know what I mean? Like, it's like things like that aren't universal at all,
right.
So I definitely try to keep the lyrics in a place where the working man can get it and the rich man can get it and the poor man can get it, because I feel like we've all struggled no matter who we are. And that's so I definitely try to keep like universal concepts within the lyrics, I know like on our latest EP, like I have a song called The Answer, and that was aimed like specifically at people who didn't vote for Trump,
Got a little political.
Yeah, got a little political, yeah, and I didn't really want to do that. I like having songs that are where you can interpret it and you can interpret it for how you want. It may be about a girl to me or not about a girl to me, and then something different for you or someone else.
You're kind of ambiguous.
Yeah. I always like to kind of do that because I love interpreting songs, and it's like when you're told what the song's about, that's what it's about now. Versus in your own mind, you create this story, you create this concept, and that's what it is to you, and that's how it lives in your mind and your heart.
Absolutely.
Would you say that you got some of those universal, like, ambiguous, like, concepts for your writing from maybe like Beatles' Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But we all know what that's actually about.
Right.
Yeah, totally though. I mean, like, I love, like, with the Beatles, I love how, like, when they were like going through that high phase, that their writing was so ambiguous, and they were like messing around with different concepts, and it's cool because even today it's like they're still relevant, and you can still like twist them around, and like I Am the Walrus. It's like, what are you talking about? It's great. It's cool. So I really appreciate that kind of songwriting.
John Lennon obviously found the bird he wanted to be, but
Yeah.
that bird was a walrus.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what he became.
Exactly.
So I know that you guys shot a short film recently in Ireland.
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? Are you Irish?
I am. Yeah, I am. So
Nice.
yeah. So my girlfriend, who is my better half, she's literally like, she gets me 100%, and I get her 100%. Her little brother passed away in 2016, and it was a really tough time because that's like the closest that anyone's ever been to me passing away. That wasn't like a grandfather or something that, like, that lived a full life. And so it was a tough year. And in January of 2017, her and I were working on a set, my friend's set, and we were filming something, and she started talking about, writing a script, and I'm like, she's like, she wanted to write something metaphorical about her brother and to keep his spirit alive and almost kind of have a voice for her family and friends that didn't really know what to say, And we came up with this really beautiful story about two friends who traveled to Ireland to deliver an unopened letter to one of the friends' brothers, and that's kind of all I can give away without spoiling anything.
I'm intrigued already.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. It's a 12-minute film. We raised up $12,000, and
wow.
We went to Ireland. We chose Ireland because I told Ariel I always wanted to go there, and we just actually bought tickets to go there to begin with, and then we're like, why don't we just do something productive while we're there,
Mm-hmm.
So we started writing the script, and in 6 months we got half a crew in Ireland, half a crew in America, and about 12 people going over there, and incredible people, and we shot an incredible short film, which I'm really excited to share with everybody.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
And you felt that your experience in Ireland helped influence your songwriting later on?
It's the motherland. So it's like, it's actually the first day I was there. So the flight was like 6 or 7 hours, and it felt like 2 hours. It was really quick. But I was up for about 24 hours. And the first thing I did, I actually met with a music producer out there, who I've been talking to for since the inception of the band. I think I tweeted him when I first started the band. I'm like, hey, just so you know, one day we're going to work together. And he's like, yeah, I like your enthusiasm. And then, 4 years later or whatever, we met finally.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he was such a sweetheart too. He gave me this huge bear hug. That was the first thing he did. And he's like, oh, we've been talking for so long. It's so nice to finally hear your voice and know who you actually are, But I was so delirious. I was up for so long. But I played him a private show, and I was so that set me off. I was so high for the rest of the trip. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm gonna come back here. But yeah, as soon as the plane was landing, I looked at my girlfriend. I'm like, I'm sorry, we're moving here. This is happening. I'm fucking moving here. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful place I've ever been to. And musically, I've always what I've always loved about bands like U2 and Mumford & Sons and Coldplay is at least old Coldplay, and old U2 I'd say too, is that you can hear the land that they're from in their music. I could when I close my eyes and listen to their sound, I could in the production or whatever it is, I could feel the landscape of Ireland or the landscape of the UK for Mumford & Sons and Coldplay. I could really feel where they're from.
Totally.
And it's I listened to a song like The Scientist, and for some reason I always envisioned listening to his lyrics, imagining him on the city streets of London and walking the streets and walking to his ex-lover's house to tell her I need you, and it's that type of visualization is what I want to capture in music. And when I was in Ireland, it was finally I now I see this place. I know I have it for my music, and I can bring that into my music, hopefully. Whereas before it was just dreaming and I'm imagining.
Right.
So I'm excited to see how that becomes.
Now you can truly, you're feeling your roots over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's cool stuff. I'll tell you, I listened to, I know they're not that popular in the States, but Thin Lizzy is unbelievable. Thin Lizzy, Irish band, man. Yeah. Oh my God. And when you're listening to the songwriting, Phil Lynott was an unbelievable songwriter, and you're hearing his stuff. And then I went back and I'm listening to Flogging Molly recently, which they have some wild stuff, but you hear some of their slower songs, and it's heavy stuff, man. And you can feel the Irish influence.
Totally.
And there's something very regal about it, and you're not regal, almost rustic, actually.
Definitely, yeah, almost piratey.
Kinda, yeah. It's they're definitely using some kind of musicals. There's an Irish scale. There has to be, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%.
There is, because you're hearing in the type of music that they're definitely hitting some certain kinds of notes, and you're like, man, this has a great fucking feel.
Totally,
man.
yeah,
Totally.
There's something there's a movie called Once, and Sing Street too.
Mm-hmm.
Same director. He was in I forget the name of the band. It was an Irish band, but he became a director, and his lead singer, Glenn Hansard, wrote all the music for the movie Once, and it ended up becoming a Broadway musical. But even that, it's you listen to the melodies that the Irish, people from different countries, Iceland, Ireland, wherever, Norway, whatever, the way that their choice of scales and modes that they choose when they're writing songs is just so much more exotic to us, and I think that's what's always drawn me to music like that, is that we don't hear it every day. We hear, at least here, we're like, it's too late now to say sorry. It's like, oh God, no more. We're flooded with that shit, and like hearing some of those melodies over there and some of those instruments, like just the acoustic guitar alone, it just feels so much more like this is what it is to be human, to be grounded, to be a part of a place, not to be chasing some formulaic mainstream nonsense,
For the Louis Vuitton bag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, let's take a little break just to thank our sponsors, the Blockchain Academy. We want to thank them for letting us use their studio, their equipment to help bring these podcasts to you guys. If you want to check them out, it's at theblockchainacademy.com, where they have online courses and world-class instructors you guys should definitely check out. Again, thank you. Let's get back to the show.
So, as part of the evolution of your songwriting, where did it originate? What really got you into songwriting?
I would definitely say that I would say that after that Coldplay concert, I think that's when I started to really try my hand at songwriting. And I listened back, because the only thing, like I said, I only really knew those 3 big hits, and then I was at the Milo Xyloto tour, which is like their 2011 album, which I think was like their 5th studio album, maybe, or 6th. But when I went back and listened to like Parachutes and Rush of Blood to the Head, I was like, this is singer-songwriter type of stuff. This is like coffee shop songwriting, but with a band. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So I really, started kind of diving deep into like songwriters, like Jeff Buckley and things like that. And I just grew this appreciation for the way that they told stories in their music. And, I just wanted to take a try at that, and then Wyland kind of started becoming something.
Would you say that part of your songwriting is storytelling, or sometimes just not so much of a story, but more just poetic in general?
I would say it's a combination of the two. There's one song that I wrote, and it's cool because like some songs come out and they pour out like lyrics, melodies, everything. And one of those songs for me was a song that I wrote called "Lifeboats," and it's I feel like it's very story based in the verses, and then in the choruses it becomes more poetic and more open for interpretation. And cool. I think that's kind of like more of my approach with songwriting, where it's like I feel like the verses are an opportunity to kind of lay out like a story, and then the choruses are that moment where you can kind of be a little more broad and let people kind of take what they want from it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like that interpretation. How you're approaching it.
Yeah.
So besides songwriting, do you write just poetry? Because I personally, I'm influenced by, the pop culture of today. My brother used to listen to rock when I was growing up. So, my parents influenced me a little bit. I have such a broad range of things, but now I'm only listening to instrumental classical music, but I'll still write poetry on the side.
Nice.
Now you can always just place poetry over music and it becomes
Totally
a song or a rap.
Spoken word.
Yeah, I love spoken word.
Yeah,
Have you ever done that before?
I haven't ever done it. It's interesting because it's like I'm very shy when it comes to I would hate to play for you guys right now alone, like with an acoustic guitar.
Too
I'm
intimate.
Yeah, it's too intimate. I get like really nervous, as opposed to if we're playing like a packed out room. I'm like, yeah, I got this,
Nice.
So like my buddy does spoken word. His name's John Burke, and he lives in Jersey City, and he is incredible. Like he used to be in like a hardcore band called Silhouette of a Soldier, and it was like such a heavy group. But he was always so great with lyrics. He was always so poetic, and he's like a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, and it's interesting because it's like I've always kind of turned away whenever I see somebody that's that good. I'm just like, I can't fucking do it. It's like I used to play every sport when I was younger, and it's like I just saw people better than me, and I'm like, I can't get that good, so I just didn't do it. And he's one of those people that like kind of turned me away from it, because it was like, you're so good and I can't get there. I know I can't, so I'm not even gonna try. But so that's why I'm just like sticking with music and film. I feel like there I can do something, but like poetry is such a it's such a tender thing. I write some like free prose, or free form, but it's definitely not anything up to par with what that guy can do and what some other people that he's introduced me to can do.
So between, you said you're a little shy and you didn't start playing music till you were 23. You've been intimidated by people who are very good at doing things. How did you even, how were you like, how'd you get the band together? The Wyland guys, how did that even form up?
So I grew up with this kid Pablo who lived in my town in Kearney, and when he was actually at the Coldplay show with me, which worked out well.
Oh, cool.
So that night when we were both obliterated out of our minds, I talked to him about it, and I was like, hey man, like I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna bring you songs. He's a great piano player. He's classically trained. He's the man.
That's always a good start to a band.
It's amazing, yeah. And so he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, and didn't really believe me. And then cut to like 3 months later, I'm like, here's 3 songs that I wrote. What do you think? And he's like, these are great. He's like, cool. Like let's like add to them. So he bought like a recording software, and we started like building like tracks and making them like really huge and unnecessary. And little by little, we started to kind of like bring what we have now into some type of form. I was introduced to like Mumford & Sons like shortly after that Coldplay concert, and I became obsessed with them. Even today, I'd say that they're probably like my number 1 favorite band. And talk about like great songwriting and another band that I felt was inspired by like U2, but yeah, little by little, I feel like we just kind of kept recruiting like friends and stuff like that, and then little by little, the friends would drop out because it's not what they want to do.
Right.
They're friends for a reason, like they're not there for that, and then like we posted an ad on Craigslist, got somebody off of Craigslist, and it was always kind of just like weeding out the people that didn't want to do it, and then finding the people that were like, I love this. Basically, the people that are in this band now were fans of the band that we met playing out, but that were also musicians and in other bands and striving to make it. And it got to a point where their bands, slowly started to, fall apart. Mm-hmm. And I'm like a juggernaut. I will not stop. You know what I mean? Like in my eyes, you give up, 3 months later, that was probably your time to make it. You know what I mean? It's like you just can't stop with anything in life. As long as I'm writing songs, there's potential.
Sure, it's a great outlook.
I love that mentality.
Yeah, you just can't stop. And I feel like we got lucky. The lineup that we have now is just it's the people that get the vision. They understand what Wyland is, and we're all working towards it. Like the piano player Pablo, who I'm still friends with, he still comes and plays some shows. When he quit, I had to learn how to play piano.
Oh,
so
shit.
Now I know how to play piano. It's like that's like just kind of my mentality. Is like when somebody leaves, you just got to pick up the slack, and it's gonna make you better. And then hopefully you can replace the person at some point. But if not, you know how to do it. So that was that.
Definitely. Sounds like there's been a lot of evolution in
a lot of evolution.
Wyland. Yeah. Is there kind of a end goal, or are you guys just trugging forward and like hoping whatever the next thing is the best thing that you could possibly make at the time?
Yeah, I feel like because I started so late, and the people that I'm getting are also kind of still in the game, but it's also later for them as well. It's like we didn't have that opportunity to be like the Beatles or even U2, where you meet in high school and you all jive on one thing and then grow together. It's more like, I had like a vision at 23, and these people people have to understand the vision and see the vision. And
How old are you now?
I'm 28.
Okay.
Yeah, and the end goal for me is just to be able to make money to continue doing this. I don't care about being rich. I don't care about buying a house. I don't, and what's nice is the girl I date doesn't care about that either.
Nice.
Yeah.
Always a plus.
So, we're on the same page where it's like we just want to create art, and we want to create something that we believe in, that we stand for. Like I said, I listen to like current pop music and everything, and it makes my skin crawl. It makes my skin crawl that I feel like we're dumbing down our society with that kind of music. I feel like we're creating zombies, man.
Idiocracy is becoming a reality.
It is. It really is.
Scary.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like I feel like art has always been there to challenge us, philosophically and intellectually, and everything that I've ever learned as a kid, the real things that I've learned has been from music and movies. You know, I mean, and I know that's like literally a line from Brand New, but it's like everything that I know is literally from that. I learned about love from TV, and yes, it's not right. You know, I mean, I learned my love from like romances, and then I found out real quick that that's not the way it goes.
Right.
You know, but that's a beautiful thing. You know, it's an experience that you can't take away from me. You know, and that's just like one example of it.
I used to say that to my parents. I'd be like, I've learned so much from TV and movies, and they'd be like, you should probably just continue thinking about school and whatever else it is. But now that you say it, it's like it is. That's kind of how we were raised.
It
you know?
was, absolutely.
So
Totally.
the generation before us, you know, they had the radio, and all of a sudden, boom, they're listening to the radio all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their information constantly being streamed to them. But the TV, movies, now Netflix, I mean, now it's everywhere.
Yeah, man.
And that's okay, even on your phone. And
It's how you use it.
I feel with you on that, though.
Yeah, hell yeah. I think like seeing people buried in their phones. I remember I listened to a podcast that Hartwick guy. What's Nerdist?
I know who you're talking about. Chad Hardwick, Chris Hardwick, maybe.
Yeah, Chris Hardwick. Yeah. He had Morgan Freeman on, and like at the end of like the segment, they asked like a goofy question. He's like, "What would you do in like a zombie attack, an outbreak?" And he's like, "We're already there." He's like, "Have you looked around?" He's like, "We have people stuck in their phones, just walking around aimlessly."
Morgan
He's like,
Freeman dropping truths.
"Yeah," and he's
over
like,
here.
"I guess I'll be doing the same thing I'm doing now, just going about my business and not being a part of it." And like it's interesting because I think that like we can use YouTube and things like that as learning platforms. You know, even like Netflix and watching cinema and things like that and learning from them. You know, like if you look at it from an educational standpoint, it's all beneficial. It's just not getting wrapped up in looking at Facebook and just refreshing the feed and Twitter. You know, it's like, and I get caught in that shit too. I think we all do. It's just mindless, man. You know.
It's easy to get sucked into that bubble, man. But, you know, as you know, those things definitely do help influence what we do. And I'm
Totally.
sure the stuff that's helped shape your musical preferences and influences. And what do you think is most prevalent in non-musical media that helped influence your music today? You read comics, you like any fantasy, stuff like that?
Yeah. I love science fiction. I've been a huge fan of like I think like one of the latest science fiction films that I really loved was Arrival last year. I thought that was fucking brilliant.
What's the new one coming out?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, yes, but Natalie.
Annihilation?
Oh,
Are you thinking?
Annihilation.
Natalie
the-
Portman
oh
in
my
Annihilation. That
God.
looks so good.
You saw Ex Machina, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
I am so excited. Yeah, I love that like 2016 and 2017, like it's like we're like finally like giving sci-fi what it deserves.
Fuck yeah,
you know?
right?
We finally got the technology to make it happen.
That's right. The CGI's there.
Oh, it's
Hell
amazing. It's so exciting. But I think like the first like sci-fi movie that like came like a comeback sci-fi movie that really blew me away was like Prometheus. That really that was really inspiring to me. Because I was like, oh cool, like I think we're starting to get it. You know, and then the new Alien thing sucked. But I'm really excited about Annihilation, Blade Runner. I think Blade Runner is going to change the game.
People are saying it's great. The review's been very positive.
Yeah, the
so I'm
cinematography
hoping-
on it looks unlike anything I've ever seen. So that's really cool.
I'm hoping those are awesome. Is there any standouts for you that you feel have influenced certain tracks on an album or?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I kind of breezed over this. So there's a television show on HBO. It's over now. Called The Leftovers, and
That was very popular. I think,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It was like had a big like cult following. It was every season they were threatened to be canceled.
Wow.
Yeah, and then after season 2, they were going to cancel it. And, you know, the writers had to kind of, like, make, like, these finale type of episodes. And people dressed up as, like, this group of characters called I forget what they're called. But they stood outside of HBO and picketed. And then HBO was like, all right, we'll give it one final season, which was great because it made the writers like, okay, cool, let's wrap it all up. And I actually wrote a song called Lost Boy on it, and we were actually in talks with the music supervisor of The Leftovers to put it in the season finale, but we wrote it during season 2, which was like really dark, very Radiohead era of like the music soundtrack of it. And then they're fucking geniuses. Season 3, they went the complete opposite with the music. They went like 50s, like happy, kind of jolly.
Wow.
And it like the way it contrasted like the darkness of the show was fucking brilliant. So I was like, it wouldn't have made sense. It would have made sense on season 2, but we were just a touch too late.
Oh, that would have been huge.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I listened to the score of The Leftovers, like the classical score.
Yeah,
of it.
dude.
It's so
Max
good.
Richter, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That show, I don't know if you guys watched that, but that show I highly recommend it. Season 1 is a little slow for some people. Season 2 is the best television I've ever seen, and season 3 is just like gets all the feels. All the feels.
No, I haven't seen it, but I'd love to. That sounds interesting. It sounded like you were saying that. Have you worked with your girlfriend on certain projects? You guys seem to be very close.
She's always. I always go to her to kind of confirm whether something sucks or something's good. In terms of like filmmaking, she's my partner. She's a great actress, and she's also like a great writer, and she just has a great eye. She has a great eye for color and stuff that I just don't think of. So like we work as a team pretty much with everything. Any song that I write, I bring to her first. I show her before I show anybody. You know, I'm like, hey, does this suck? You know, what do you think of this? And she always tells me straight. You know.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's nice. And she's somebody else that gets 100% like what I'm doing, and you know what I'm going for with like Wyland and filmmaking and whatnot. So it's nice to have somebody like that in your corner that's gonna tell you straight up, you know, what's going on.
Does she also influence some of your songwriting now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've written one of the songs we have called Butterflies. I wrote about her and our relationship.
I saw the video for that song. I actually really liked
she's
it.
actually in it. She's wearing the bear head.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Are you? You're not the panda head, are you?
No, I'm not. No, I was actually directing it. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
was
Yeah, we
fantastic
shot it
video.
illegally in New York, which is always fun.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good time. It was fun.
I was recently a part of a project where one of our friends from high school and a bunch of his friends were filming an online series,
Oh, nice.
which I found out soon to be released.
Oh, awesome.
It's called Friends.
Friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And maybe I'm being an asshole and not remembering that correctly, so let's not
Who
quote
was
me.
filming this? Can I ask?
Nicholas.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So our friend Nico from high school.
Cool.
And I was at first, just a PA, but being a part of it and being there every time they were filming for like a couple of months. And they were filming before me, and then they're like, shit, we need more help. Like,
Yeah.
let me reach out. And I responded. And when I was helping out, like seeing the amount of time that they put into the production of the show
Crazy.
it blew my mind away because it
Yeah.
wasn't just while we were there. They
Mhm.
were constantly working where we'd go on a weekend, Saturday or Sunday, and I'd be there all day with them,
Right.
helping out. And I was just the boom guy,
Yeah.
nothing big. But because I was there so much, and they ended up having one of their actors not show up. And they were like, Kyle, can you help us out? Can you just, be
Jump
this
in,
character?
yeah.
And I did. I jumped in it. And it kind of influenced me to be like, okay, let me go to acting class.
Oh,
like,
nice. Cool.
Yeah, and I
Awesome.
went to a couple of acting classes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it was to be a part of a project like that. I had never done that, and I was older. I was 23 at the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now, I think, influenced my life to, hey, I mean, we're on a podcast. What's up?
Yeah. Totally.
Where were you before that Coldplay show?
I think I was just kind of, it's interesting because I look back and I think that I was like working full time. My dad runs an electrical company, which I still work for. I've been working for literally my whole fucking life. But I was working for him like full time, and like I think part of me was considering just taking that, and I would have been so depressed. But yeah, I think part of me was just kind of, I was going with the society, I mean, the girl I was dating, I was like, yeah, I guess we'll get married, and like
Just
do.
was like okay with the mediocrity of your life.
Yeah, but I've always felt like, and I think this is our generation. I've always felt like I was just meant for more. I feel like our parents kind of put this thing in our head where you could be anything, and then like as you're getting older, you're like, could I? And then that show kind of like was like, yeah, you can do it. Just fucking do it. And I think that like any advice that anybody who you respect is going to give you is going to be go out and do it. Make your own possibilities, and like even like being on like a film set, it's like you see how like you were just a boom operator, but it couldn't be done without the boom operator. You know what I mean? It's like everybody is as equally as important as the next person on a set, and like I feel like that's something that you can really bring into anything that you do in life. It's like I remember when I first started the band, I was kind of like a dictator. I'm like, has to be this, has to be that, has to be this, has to be that. But at the end of the day, it's like you need the collaboration, and you need everybody has to be on the same page. Everybody on a film set is on the same page. They have the vision of what they're doing, and everybody's working to complete that vision, make that happen. And, it's the same thing with, like, music or anything else that you're going to do in life. Even, like, I try to bring it to, like, my dad and his company. I'm like, hey, listen, you need organization, and you need everybody at your company to feel like they're a part of it and to feel that, they're necessary and that their contributions are welcomed and appreciated, and that's how you, potentially run a good business and have people on board that are going to fight for it,
Completely there with you. Yeah, it's so important to be appreciated.
Yeah, totally.
Because the moment someone doesn't feel appreciated, it falls apart, and their enthusiasm for whatever the occupation is. Completely.
Yeah.
And nobody sees that. That all happens in their head.
Yeah.
And so they'll come into work one day and they're like, no, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And they'll just leave.
Yeah, man. Totally. And I feel like that's been anything in life that any of us have probably given up. We were just like, fuck this. I don't belong here. Yeah. I'm not appreciated here. My contributions aren't appreciated, And then you find something like this podcast where you're like, you guys and Ori, you're all on the same page. You guys get what you're doing, and you guys appreciate each other, and you feel it.
I appreciate you, Ben.
I appreciate you, Kyle.
Oh. Nice. We appreciate you too, Ori. In the back room.
Fuck you, Ori.
And we appreciate Sucks, Ori. Sucks. Yeah.
So you are in the music industry now. You are in the film. I mean, if you've created this short 12-minute film, how do you separate your time scale on the two?
Yeah. Well, I've been, like I said, I still work for my dad 3 days out of the week, and I've actually started doing like bar gigs that I'm very disconnected to. I don't put much time into them. I just do it for the side change. But the days that I'm off, where I have full days or any hours in between, I count for every single hour, and I try to approach it like school. So like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday, I'm off. So I treat those like I'm in school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I put in working out. I put in an hour of guitar exercises, an hour of piano exercises. I go through YouTube and I look at some like guitar videos, some jam things. Like I spend a shit ton of time just trying to constantly educate myself, because I feel like the older I'm getting, the stupider I'm getting. And
Kyle's getting wet over here. He loves a man who likes to be organized. So.
Organization, and you're constant wanting to be a student, wanting to learn.
Yeah, man.
Can I hook up with you? Like, your girlfriend wouldn't be jealous, right?
Talk to Ori. No.
I see the love in the room here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just, it's just like, I just always want to better myself. It's like the older we get, our bodies deteriorate, our minds deteriorate. We have to do everything that we can do to try and be the best version of ourselves, and we have to absolutely work at that every single day. And if we don't, something I'm haunted by. My grandfather, who passed away, he was the musician in the family. He passed away, I think, in like 2009 or 2010. And I remember one thing he said to me, and it's resonated with me ever since I was a little boy, and it's haunted me, is that one day of missing rehearsal you'll never get back. And like that has time, like there's always been like a ticking sound in my head, and that like saying has always haunted me. So I try to use that to be productive, and like it screws me up though, because like any day that goes by where I'm not on top of it, like today I woke up late and everything, I'm a mess. I'm like emotionally a mess. I'm like kind of like stressed, and so it's like it's tough because you create those like really tight schedules, and it's exciting when you get when you get through it all, but when you don't get through it all, you feel a little shitty. So it's a balance.
Can throw you off a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I hear you on that. I have an extremely tight schedule.
Yeah.
And when I wake up early or wake up late and I'm not able to work out in the morning, I'm like, oh my God, this week's ruined, you know?
Man.
And I'm hard on myself. But the reality is, my body also needs that rest. Your mind needs that rest.
Yeah.
If you're
right.
Even on your off days, if you're putting yourself through, your own personal education of music, having an off day occasionally is great.
Yeah.
And it's okay to reward your brain for that.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're 100% right. Yeah, I mean, like one of my favorite things is just to sit down and watch horrible horror movies. I love shitty horror movies. Any horror movie that comes out, I watch, even if it's garbage, and I have no idea why.
They seem to generally be garbage too.
They do, man.
Like
it's so rare to find like a good horror movie.
Did you see it?
I did.
And?
I enjoyed it. It was fun. The kiss scene, without spoiling anything for anybody, but I hated that. The like being brought back after the kiss. I thought that was so fucking corny. And I get it. It's like a coming of age thing. You hear in the book there was like supposed to be like a child orgy and stuff.
It's a lot of fucked up shit in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like fucking go there, man up and go there. I mean, I don't want to see that, but I'm just saying, like, man up and go
Break
there.
some
Like
boundaries.
Yeah, you know, like I feel like the kiss thing was just kind of like the whole thing was pretty badass. You know, the beginning of the film, you know, with the arm and everything. It's
Nice,
like, it's like, God damn, this is going there.
Yeah.
And then like they kind of like took a step back, and I felt like they got a little corny when they didn't need to. They could have been a little more ballsy.
Wait another 27 years, they'll come out with another It movie. It's
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Get there. Well, that's the thing about horror movies. They always feel like a little schlocky, at least. It's never like the proper, you know.
Right. Well, it was interesting watching The Shining last night, and seeing the way that, like, what was that, the 70s when that came out?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So it's interesting how, like, horror was back then, and, like, a lot of the things that were terrifying were just, we didn't see anything. We just saw, like, a close-up of, like, somebody's face like this.
It was the suspense.
Yeah, man, and the music.
Jaws suspense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's so much more power. That was another thing about it, is like, I loved seeing Pennywise, and it was, I wanted to see him over and over again. But like a movie like The Exorcist, I didn't want to see that little girl. That little girl scared the shit out of me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't cool. It was fucking terrifying. And even The Shining, it's like there were moments that were terrifying. Like with that bathroom scene with like the old lady when Jack Nicholson like making out with like a young woman and then she becomes old. That was fucking scary, you know? Versus like I feel like now it's like we're playing more with like being cool and making it like special effects, you know, and focusing on that and like cheap scares, I'd say.
The pop outs. You're gonna get scared.
Yeah.
It's an innate reaction that when something pops out at you, you jump.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally cheap scare. Well, we've got only a few minutes left, so I've got one interesting question. Well, you tell me if it's an interesting question.
It's probably not going to be interesting.
Probably not that interesting. No, I do want to like, let's say you would look at yourself at 23 or any fan that's 23 years old or a little, you know, you're past high school, you're maybe mid-college or a little after, but they're interested in picking up something that they think that they can connect to and connect to other people with. What would your advice to them be to get into that thing?
I think it depends. They have to take a real hard look at themselves and say, how bad do I want this? Because if you want it more than anything in this world, then you have to just stop talking about it and do it. But you also have to be ready for all the things that come with that. You know, your parents not necessarily agreeing with you. And if you just want to do it as a hobby, then yeah, take your time. You know, there's no rush. I remember my dad told me over and over again, you could wait till you're 50 to start playing with music, you know, and just work your whole life, you know, because that's their mentality. But for what I want to do, how I want to do it, I have to do it now, you know, because I'm young, you know.
Not just young, but motivated.
Motivated.
So you feel that passion within you to do it.
Yeah, and the older you get, I think you lose it, you know. If things aren't happening, you can get jaded quick.
Definitely.
And I think that the biggest thing, like I said before, is just not giving up. If you got that fire and you believe in yourself and you believe in your vision, you know, if you don't stop, you're gonna go somewhere. You know, as long as you're good, of course. I mean, if you suck, I don't know. It's
got to have a little bit of a skill.
You got to get somebody that you trust to tell you whether or not you're good, because we all sound fucking great in our heads,
right?
You know, I mean, I think even now, I think when I sing, I'm like, damn, my voice is awesome in my head, and then when I hear it recorded, I hate it.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys deal with it too, just talking into the mic every day. You know.
Well, not every day, but yeah.
Not every day, but yeah. Also, being a tone-deaf musician is like the hardest thing on the planet. Fucking garbage.
Seriously.
Yeah, no,
awesome.
I really am.
That's awesome.
It's fucked up. You got any closing questions, Kyle?
No, I don't. Ryan, I really want to thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was awesome.
This was great.
Yeah, I really liked
appreciate
what you had to share.
Time. Hell yeah.
So, thank you guys so much for joining us for. Oh, excuse me. Even before I do that, Ryan, do you want to have some plugs, please?
Sure.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you want. Spit it out.
Sure. So you can find my band on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at We Are Wyland, WYLAND. And that's pretty much it. And then the film, I don't know when that's coming out. It's a lot of money, so
You let us know and we'll post it.
There you go. Yeah. So we'll be back about that.
Okay.
Sounds great. We were happy to have you on the show, Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode on the Disconnection Podcast, where we aim to inform, inspire, and close the disconnections in your life. We'd like to thank our guest, Ryan, for joining us today and delivering a unique perspective on a range of topics. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on iTunes and YouTube. My name is Kyle.
And I've been Ben.
And we'll catch you on the next episode of Disconnection.